What's good, people? It's Joshua from Joshua Chubb Photography, back again with another video. And I wanted to drop this video real quick. Of course, there is an announcement that Fuji are going to be making on September the 2nd, where they're supposed to be dropping some new gear. And there was one piece of kit on there that caught my mind, and I want to talk about it. So of course they're dropping like a zoom lens for the GFX system. They're supposed to be dropping the GFX 50S Mark II. I think I'm gonna put that on my to get list for far in the future. They are dropping the 23mm 1.4 Mark II and the 33mm 1.4. And I saw something else on there that really caught me by surprise, and I'm not really sure why Fuji is doing this. So I want to talk about it. So before I get there though, I'm so happy. So my favorite lens for the Fujifilm system is the 35mm 1.4. In my opinion, that lens does not need a Mark II. It will go down as a legend. So I was happy to see that they are not making a Mark II version of it. So they're going 33mm 1.4 instead of 35mm 1.4 Mark II. That lens is just special. Shout out to D Rosa. He was saying in one of his latest videos, you know, kind of like not to marry yourself to a brand. And with Fuji cameras, man, it's so hard to not get attached. But I left a comment. I said, I'm married to that 35mm 1.4. As long as I have an X series camera, I'm gonna have that lens. And that's just facts. But anyway, so the piece of kit that I want to talk about, it says on Fuji Rumors that Fujifilm are going to announce a XT-30 Mark II. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but I have some thoughts. And so I've used the XT-30 for a little while, only for like a couple weeks. I didn't really like it. It's a little bit small for my hands. I do much prefer now like the XS10 compared to the XT-30. But the thing that I'm thinking of, because even on Fuji Rumors it says, right, there's not going to be a new sensor coming out in the X series cameras until the XH2 drops, which is going to be sometime next year. So that means that the XT-30 Mark II is going to have the same X-Trans4 sensor that's already in the XT-30 Mark I. Okay, so the question is going to be, what's really going to differentiate the XT-30 Mark I versus the Mark II? And so what I'm thinking, what my wish list for this particular camera would be is, one, it's going to have IBIS. Fuji has already proven that they can put IBIS in a small body because they've done it with the XS10, even though they did have to flip the battery orientation. So I would want to see IBIS in it, and maybe they can shrink the IBIS mech, that way they don't have to rotate the battery into the grip, or maybe they just rotate the battery into the grip. So it's going to need IBIS, and I'm just saying that's like off the bat. That would be one of the biggest differentiators between it. And then in order to, one, separate this camera from the XS10, and I got the XT3 here that I'll kind of be using as my example camera, because the layout's pretty much almost the same. So we're going to need to have the physical dials for the shutter speed, and we're going to need to have the physical dial for the ISO, because the XS10, though it has dials that you can customize to be your ISO and your shutter speed, you can't just look down at your camera and see where you already are. And one like small thing that I didn't like about the XS10, so for example, like let's say, obviously this is ISO, but it's unmarked on the XS10. So if you were rotating, so let's say I'm trying to go from ISO 1600 to 2000. So obviously on this camera and on the XT-30, as soon as you move the notch, you're going to go, you know, from 1600 to 2000 when you turn it just one time. On the XS10, when you turn this notch to move the ISO, it actually doesn't change the value. What it'll do is on the screen, it'll show you your current ISO value, and then once you start turning the dial, it's going to change the ISO value for you. So essentially, you have to move the dial 2 notches to move it up 1/3 of a stop. So it would be nice if on the XT-30 Mark II, you get those same physical dials, and then of course we're going to need that focus selector switchback that you took off of the XS10. We're going to need that on the XT-30 Mark II, which I don't doubt that they wouldn't do it. But my other question is, why not name it XT-40? And so that gets me thinking, well, are they not going to give us a fully articulating screen? Will they keep it the same 2-way tilt screen as the you know, Mark I XT-30? Or what they could do, they could give us the XT3 screen and give us a 3-way tilt. But I don't know if they would. I don't know if they would do that on that particular camera. So I don't know why this camera is going to exist in the first place, to be honest. And then I don't know why they named it the XT-30 Mark II, and they're not going to name it the XT-40. I don't know. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on September the 2nd to see what this camera is really going to look like. But let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts about the camera? Did you even know that they were coming out with the XT-30 Mark II? And what would you like to see on this camera? Even if you're not going to buy it, let's just speculate down in the comments below. So, but yeah, I got some more videos coming out soon. So if you want to subscribe, go ahead, be my guest. If you don't, that's fine too. But anyway, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.